Hey Oncers, I'm Steph with Creation and welcome to our Fairy Tale virtual weekend. Just a reminder that for each of our panels, the top tipper wins a 5-minute video meet and greet with the actor right after the panel, so make sure that your top supporter information is updated with your current email address. Do that, just underneath the stage window, you'll see top supporter rewards. Scroll down to the bottom of that section and click the green complete your top supporter information with your email address. If you'd like to tip, click the green tip button on the bottom left-hand corner of your stage screen. All right, you guys, last for today, but not least, our next guest is a talented singer and actor who is no stranger to our screens with his roles in The 100 and the Magicians. But to us Oncers, he's our very own Robin Hood. Please welcome Sean Maguire.
Hello, how are you all? I feel like I'm just talking into a void. I can't see any of you. But, it's nice to be with you all. Happy Saturday. Okay. It's just me. Is anyone going to start questions anytime? Okay, so I guess this is how we're doing it. There's no compare. Okay, all right. Apparently, you can ask questions. Gabriella, if you could say something, Sean, from the past, what would it be? If I could say something from the past, yesterday. I don't think that's what your question meant, but favorite thing about being a parent? Gosh. All of it. I don't know. That's a tough one to answer. Being in love every day. Being in love with my kids and loving them more every day today than I did yesterday. So, yeah, being in love is a pretty nice thing. This is so weird. It's just me. So I guess well, nobody. I should have asked some questions about how we're doing this, but I guess you're asking me questions in the chat thing. Aha, Andressa. Oh, which scene did you most like, and what did you like least to shoot in Once and the Magicians? From Brazil. Hey, Brazil. Oh gosh, what did I like most? What did I? Rainy, cold nights on a mountain are not particularly fun. So on Once Upon a Time, there's a lot of, and on the Magicians actually, same forest, in fact, in Vancouver. Yeah, long, rainy, cold nights are not something that anybody particularly loves doing when you're filming. But, you know, as Quentin Tarantino says, we love making movies, we love making television shows, so that's why we do it. As for the best scenes, despite being very hot and sweaty in 30, 40 pounds of prosthetics, playing Sir Effingham was just, I don't know, it's like a water slide on a hot day. It was just so much fun to really get myself separated and really be able to step into a character, because I couldn't see myself, I couldn't recognize myself. It was so much easier to... Everything okay next door? Sorry. Speaking of things I love being a parent, breaking up fights. Okay, Okay. All right. I thought Steph was going to be here, so I guess I'm just sort of comparing myself. And if anyone from Creation wants to jump in and tell me if I'm doing this right, I'm not sure if it's just me on my own. That's okay. That's okay. Nobody's being killed. It sounds like somebody's being killed, but they're not. They're not. They're fine. Okay, I'm doing it right. Okay, so if I was stuck on a desert island and could choose a Once Upon a Time character to be with you, who would you choose? Well, I don't want to sort of state the obvious, but if I was with Regina, she could just poof us out there and then we wouldn't be on a desert island. So, Regina, I guess. I'm going to go with Regina. If I could play a Marvel character, who would you be and why? Who would I be and why? Marvel characters, let me think. Okay. Ooh. I never liked Captain America that much because I didn't think he was that cool, but the way Chris Evans played him, and I think Chris Evans is a pretty right-on dude. My son's only like Captain America. I would probably go with Iron Man because he's got like a dope house on the cliffs by the ocean. He's got lots of cool cars, and he can fly and stuff. So I think I'll probably go with Iron Man. Yeah. What do I miss most about filming once? My friends, of course. Like a job's a job. Obviously, this particular job has more significance because it was a very popular TV show. But for most of us, it's a job, and you go from job to job if you're lucky. And occasionally, some stick out, and this one definitely did. And it mainly stuck out because of the people that I made the show with. A lot of them are still some of my very closest and best friends, and I consider a lot of them sort of family to me and my family. So yeah, I love that game. What is your best school memory and why? Ooh. I'll be honest, I didn't have the best experience at school because I was making a television program called Grange Hill while I was doing my secondary school education. And it didn't endear me to the teachers or the students. You'd think being on TV might make you cool or popular or something like that. Not at all, not one bit. I had a really difficult time. I got a lot of grief and got into a lot of fights. Got punched in the face a lot. The teachers were not... I had one or two teachers that I really loved and to this day remain very special to me. Father Brady, who sadly passed away, and Miss Patchett, my English teacher, really helped me fall in love with English language and literature and things like that. But a lot of them were really, considering they were grown-ups and I was 10 or 11 years old, they were not very adult in the way that they treated me looking back. But I'm not one to sort of, sing poor me. But my happiest memory sounds, and this is not how, because I like to encourage young people to study and to take an interest in your academic life, but it was not, it wasn't that fun for me. So the day I left and walked out of school for the very last time, I remember just taking my school tie off and throwing it behind me and going, good riddance. That horrible chapter is over and now I can go begin my life. And I did. And I never looked back. If you were to choose a character to do again, what would it be? Ooh, that's a tough one. The first two characters that come to mind, not because of necessarily the show, the cast, or whatever, but just strictly the character and playing of the character. I think Ian Fleming and Sir Effingham were two roles that when we wrapped for the day, I was like, I want more. I want to do more. I wanted to play those characters a lot. I would have liked to have played them for an extended period of time. But like anything in life, it's fun because you only get to do it for a little while. And they were just, I don't know, there's something about those particular roles. Ian Fleming because it's sort of being James Bond, obviously. Effingham because I could escape into this silliness and I could really be a caricature. And I don't know, I just loved playing those characters. So yeah, I would go with them. Luana, did you learn anything new in quarantine, like playing the piano, new language, or something you didn't have time before? Yes, I did. I can almost play my first song on the piano. Not well, but can almost play Lean On Me by Bill Withers, which is one of my favourite songs. And I've got a little bit better at the guitar, but not much better. But I've been writing a bit, and I also have something rather exciting to share with you. For those of you who are watching, I can't see you. All I can see is myself. It's like I'm literally talking to myself in the bathroom at the moment, but I'm just going to assume that you're there. I am about to embark on something that I've been planning for about 6 or 7 years now. I come from a family of teachers, and they all teach Irish dancing, and it's been long on my mind that I wanted to find a way to help people begin. I get asked a lot, how do I become an actor? How do I do this? How do I get in the business? And it's a difficult thing to answer very quickly in a media-friendly soundbite. So after a lot of thinking and researching and doing a lot of work and figuring out how I want to do it, I'm going to launch an acting school. This is for people, it can be for, we're going to have children's classes, we're going to have adult classes, and it's going to be an introduction to how does one become an actor? How do you break down a scene? How do you work out a character? How does one understand the technical jargon and stuff like that? So I won't tell you the name of the school just yet because we're not ready to sort of launch, but we will be launching in a couple of weeks, and I'm very excited to start taking classes. We're gonna have a waiting list. So if you feel like this is something you want to try, do a 6-week course with me and a bunch of other people. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So there'll be an announcement about that in the very, very near future. And I'm very excited to sort of start teaching for the first time online. Which fictional character would you be most excited to meet? Oh, that's a very good question. Fictional character. There's a couple. The first thing that came to mind is because my wife and I just started watching episode 1, season 1 of Sherlock, and I'd already seen a few episodes and knew it was brilliant. But we both literally looked at each other about half an hour in, going, "This is so good." So I'm super excited about watching Sherlock, and so meeting Sherlock himself would be interesting. But he'd probably be a bit of a pain in the ass. Somebody I'd like to meet who. A fictional character that had a really big effect on me, so much so that I've got his picture, the actor's picture hanging on the wall over there, Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. I was about 15, I think, when I read it. And Atticus Finch, if you haven't read To Kill a Mockingbird, I highly recommend it. It's not a boring, stuffy old book. It's a work of art. It's an absolute masterpiece. And Atticus Finch is the main character. He's the dad, the lawyer, and he, to me, represents everything that's good about a man, everything that a man should be. My idea of masculinity is John Lewis, Atticus Finch. Men that, it's not about like showing how strong you are, it's about being strong by being kind, being virtuous, standing up for somebody when it comes at a cost. Defending that which is important to you, even though you might get your head beaten in by a truncheon, like John Lewis did. And I'm veering off, I'm tangenting, I know, but Atticus Finch is that fictional character that I aspire to be, and I think in real life John Lewis was that man that I aspire to be. So, gonna get emotional every time. It's like Hamilton. Every time I think about John Lewis or Hamilton, I cry. If I went to a desert island, name 3 essential things that you'd take with you. Thank you, Brazil. Baba Pialia. 3 things I would take with me to a desert island. A canoe, a compass, and an international cell phone. I know what you were trying. You were trying for me to be creative, but I can't see you or hear you, so I'm just going to give the answers that come to me as quickly as they do. Besides your family, OFC, is OFC, of course? I'm going to assume, of course. What do you miss most about England? Oh, gosh, so much. I mean, obviously, as you say, family is the first thing, and friends. I'm sure that's included in family. I miss Tanya's granddad because he's one of the coolest and most fantastic men in the world. I wanna go. Not that you can, I suppose, at the moment, but I want to go to take him to a football match. I want to take him to the pub and have a pint and have a roast dinner on a Sunday in a pub. Everything sort of revolves around pubs and football, really. I'm desperate when this daft pandemic is over to take my sons to Tottenham Hotspur and see their first game and see Harry Kane and Sonny score. Yeah, I want to be in my mum and dad's garden with all of the kids. I think we've got our next generation now. There's like 24 kids or something. We're just typical Irish Catholics making babies like rabbits. Raquel, hello Raquel. What is your favourite comfort food? My favourite food generally is pie. It would be my go-to. That's also, I suppose, my comfort food. But if you're specifically saying comfort, a chicken pot pie, really well made with a very doughy top. you know, when you can just feel it. Yeah, chicken pot pie, Daily Grill. If you're not in America, you won't know what Daily Grill is, but there's a Daily Grill restaurant chain here, and they make a great chicken pot pie. It's really good. What music are you listening to right now? Ooh, good question. I'll tell you, because obviously we're all pandemicking. I'll tell you what I've been listening to lately. I've been listening to Roy Orbison. If you don't know Roy Orbison, I strongly recommend. He sung Pretty Woman. You probably know the song Pretty Woman. Bob Dylan's new album, Rough and Rowdy Ways, is a extraordinary album. New Jack Swing Essential. You know, like Motown Theory back again. All of that. If you don't know who Phil Spector is, Phil Spector was a very famous producer, and he had Phil Spector's Wall of Sound. If you just look up Phil Spector, you will go, oh my God, he made that record, and he made that record, he made that record. He actually had a famous quote. I think he said, if you made out with a girl in the 60s, you were probably doing it to my record. A little arrogant. He's in jail for murder now, by the way, incidentally. We're not entirely sure that he did it, but I say we like I was involved. I'm not involved. Stevie Wonder. If you don't have Stevie Wonder on your playlist, have a quiet word with yourself. Anita Baker, Sweet Love. Mo Money, Chilled Ibiza. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, Alton Connellan. If you don't know this guy, if you don't know this artist, he's one of my best friends, and he's one of those guys, you mark my words, it might take 5 years, 10 years, he will have one enormous song, and then everyone will go, who's this guy? And we'll go, we've been saying this for a long time. Extraordinarily talented musician. And it's, this album in particular, his new album, There Is a Waltz, is a particularly good COVID lockdown album. It's very calming. It's very gentle. So yeah, listen to Alton. Did you take anything from set? Not really. When I left, I had a lot of other things on my mind other than taking souvenirs and chairbacks and stuff. But I did accidentally bring home a gold coin from a scene. I think it was a scene where I marry Rebecca. I can't remember why we did that or what the point was. But that coin, not intentionally, ended up in a pocket. And I think I gave it to one of my nieces. It's funny, some of my nieces and cousins and stuff like, oh, I'm finally getting around to watching Once Upon a Time. It's good. And I'm like, all right, I'll take your word for it. How would Robin react to quarantine? Pretty well, I think. I mean, he lives in the forest with a bunch of men, so, you know, I don't think he's going to be like, oh, no, the dishwasher's on the fritz and the Wi-Fi's down. He lives in a tree. I mean, anything's a step up for Robin. What was your favorite Once Upon a Time plot twist? I don't know. That I wasn't dead after I was definitely dead, and not to be confused with not being dead, but being dead. And then all of a sudden I'm not dead. That was a plot twist. Paint yourself out in that corner there, lads. Yeah. No, when we said definitely dead, never to come back again, what we meant was definitely sort of. That's why it's important not to make very emphatic statements, especially if you have to go back on them. Which actor or actresses do you want to work with that you haven't worked with before? Gosh, so many. There's so many. I'm trying to think of somebody off the top of my head that I just get super inspired. Well, he's retired now, but I guess the first name on the list would be, to be on the set with Daniel Day-Lewis. That's got to be some extraordinary experience to have, or to have had. I hear that Leonardo DiCaprio is pretty good. I'd like to do a scene with him. Because I watched What's Eating Gilbert Grape again the other week, and his performance in that, not as just as a young person or as a child actor, but as any performer, that might be one of the best performances I've ever seen. I still to this day I marvel at how good he was in that film. So yeah, little Leo. What was the best thing about participating in the movie Songs for Amy? Again, for me, the best thing I can take away from the job is friends. And Alton Conlon, who I just mentioned, is one of our families, not just mine, but mine and Tanya's, one of our best friends. And that to me is everything, And if I take a real friend like a Colin or a Mikey Raymond James or a Bex or an Alton or whatever, then the whole whatever, even if the movie sucked, I'm like, that's my brother, that's my sister for life. There's no changing that, there's no undoing that, and that's pretty special. So, but the other thing that I really loved about it was just being in Ireland, being on a job in Ireland, so that I could because I love being in Ireland. It's where my my DNA comes from. Interesting point. Some of you may know this, but I can't see you, so you can heckle all you want. I did, myself and Alex, one of my best mates, and Tanya did an Ancestry and me.com thing, and I got my DNA back, and it turns out that I was 99.75 whatever Irish. And I was like, well, so I'm pretty Irish then. And then they do these updates. So I got an update that came back like a month or two later that said, nope, sorry, we made a mistake. You are 100% Irish. 100%. 100%. Now, if you think about that, and I made this joke at my brother's wedding, so forgive me if I'm retreading old material. Again, I can't see you, so it doesn't matter. So if you think about that, to be 100% anything, bearing in mind that Ireland is the sort of the tip between, before the Atlantic, so anybody that was coming, all of the Scandinavians, the Normans, the Saxons, the Romans, everyone that came through Ireland, over centuries of raping and pillaging and all of that terrible medieval stuff, no one wanted to have sex with my family. Not what, literally, they got to our village and went, well, leave it. Go on to the next one. Get the next one. It'll be better. The next village will be better. We'll go to the next one. So yeah. So I forgot what the question was, but no one wanted to have sex with my family. That's the takeaway. How many takes was necessary to shoot the vault scene? Don't know. We didn't do that many. If I remember. It wasn't a particularly tough scene to shoot. I mean, kissing scenes are what they are. I remember, I think it was Ralph, our director Ralph, was a favourite. Great dude who I loved. He's an actor's director, very, very fair and good, and doesn't overshoot. Actually, maybe he does overshoot a little bit, but he's a very good director. Sorry, gate crashes. But I think we shot it 3 or 4 times, and then we changed the cameras. Guys! Hey! Sorry. I'm talking to myself in front of the camera with nobody there.
What?
Hey, don't go into camera. You've got no plans on you. Can't go on TV naked. Oh, great. Okay. You're going to just gate crash, are you? Okay. All right. So what I'm doing is, because you can't see anyone, so it's just us, right? What's your weirdest hobby? This is my weirdest hobby. Looking after them. That is my... Okay, I don't think this is not what they want. This is not what they came to see. Are you sticking an ice cream in there? Don't stick in there. Wait. All right, now that's enough. Enough. This is supposed to be a professional endeavor. Hey, just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. I think... Yeah. No. Hey! Wait! No! Don't do that. All right, Tanya, you're not going to tell me. Hey! No kicking. No. All right, guys, please stop. Please stop. I know this looks like I'm talking to myself, but okay, he's showing me his bum. Okay. Look, mate. Seriously. No! Hey! Stop it! All right, Tanya, can you take them, please? They're literally trying to moon the audience. Sorry, guys. Seriously, I have to do this. Tanya, you can take them. I've got the camera this way. Everyone in my house is in a state of undress, so I'm trying to cover Flynn's bum, Tanya in her robe. Flynn, seriously, come on. We kind of need to. I have to carry on. All right, go guys. All right, sorry about that. The studio that I'm working in has been overrun by naked children. Oh, why did I decide to start acting? Well, the funny thing is, I didn't sort of make the decision in a weird way. I was about 4 years old with my older brother and my younger sister. We were Irish dancing somewhere, and an agent saw us and said, "Oh, they're talented kids. Do you think they want to act?" And my dad said, "Well, you know, if it doesn't interfere with their schoolwork." And then we had an agent, and then I went for an audition a couple of weeks later for a movie, and I got it, and then I was on set. I remember clearly being on set and being surrounded by crew and lots of people, and being the epicenter of everything, and liking it, and liking the attention and stuff. And I remember thinking, I like this. This seems better than a real job. And just by pure luck and God's grace, I managed to get a career out of it. So, yeah. If you could play in a book adaptation movie, what would that be and why? What book and why? I don't know. I don't know. That's a really tough one because I've got so many different books that I love. I mean, Trainspotting is an incredible book, and then was an incredible movie. Renton, the character, Ewan McGregor's character in Trainspotting, is a pretty phenomenal character that I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind having a crack. Oh, I know. Well, it's not a book really, but it was a play. Aaron Sorkin, A Few Good Men. The character Tom Cruise plays in that film is such a great role and so many great lines that I would love to have a crack at that. What areas of cinema would you like to work on? Just working in cinema generally is pretty great. I mean, cinema, you know, we're going through strange transitional times with the pandemic and everything else. And I think cinema's like vinyl, it's never going to go away. But it is slightly under threat at the moment. I can see drive-ins becoming a big thing in our future. I think that's going to happen. But what area would I like to work in cinema? Rather than an area, I'll tell you who I want to work for. I want to work for Christopher Nolan, and I want to work for Spike Lee, and I want to work for Quentin Tarantino, and I want to work for the late Alan Parker. Sadly, he passed away yesterday. It's directors, really. You know, the Martin Scorsese, Spielberg, you know, there's so many. There's a lot of people that I would like to work with or for. Who do you consider the funniest person in the cast of Once Upon a Time? That's a tricky one. Who? Well, Rebecca Maiden makes me laugh a lot. She sends me funny WhatsApp videos every other day, and I in turn send her some. Bex makes me laugh a lot. I laugh a lot with Colin. The great Josh Dallas is incredibly funny. He's so charming that you forget that he's funny. But he can be very funny and does an incredible Kevin Spacey from House of Cards. But he's dry funny. They're all a good bunch, you know what I mean? When you love people, you laugh a lot, and so it's hard to distinguish. Favorite song to sing in the car? I sing all the time in the car. I sing to everything. It's quite annoying, I think. My kids actually sometimes say, "Daddy, stop." Singing along to Hamilton at the top of my voice in the car. Stevie Wonder, Bill Withers. I feel like in the car, that's the place where you kind of want to belt it out a little bit. You know, you want to really sing with wild abandon. So that's what I do. Did I ever participate in an archery contest? I did, actually, and I haven't told this story before. But I was in the north of England. I was in Nottingham, and I was meeting a friend, and I got into a bit of a kerfuffle with a police officer who went by, well, he said he was the sheriff, and we got into a bit of an argument. I'm sure that's fine. And one thing led to another, and before I knew it, he challenged me to an archery contest, and he fired first, and he hit the bullseye, and then I fired, and my arrow went right in the middle of his arrow and split his arrow in half. And then I just left and made out with this girl called the Maid Mariah. So that was literally the only time I've been in an archery contest, but it went well, and the as I said, I think he went by the Sheriff of Nottingham. He was crestfallen, and he felt like quite a fool for challenging me. What is something you hope to pass on to your kids as a legacy or life lesson? The most important thing is to be kind. Everything else comes after that. Just be kind. The golden rule: treat people as you would like to be treated. Treat everybody with respect. Treat everybody equally and fairly. And if you do that, you've got a much easier chance to get through life without hitting silly, obvious roadblocks. Just be kind. It's so simple. It's almost hard to get it wrong, and yet so many of us do. What is your favourite fairy tale, and how was it playing The King and the Magicians? My favourite fairy, I don't know if I have a favourite one per se. Fairy tales are a bit strange. They're quite dark. They're quite sort of macabre, really. You know, it's always about children being pushed in ovens by old ladies and houses made of candy, or it's always, you know, there's all sort of, you know, a young girl's grandmother being eaten by a wolf. I don't know if there's any that I particularly love. Oh, you know what? Funnily enough, and it's not because I love Robert Carlyle, which I do, but I kind of like reading the story of Rumpelstiltskin to my kids. We have the fairy tale book, and I don't know why, but I quite like that one. It's weird though, because the princess, I'm not going to get into it. The second part of the question: how did I like playing the king on The Magicians? I liked it very much. It was strange to play two different roles in the same show. Strange in a wonderful way. But it was strange. It took me a minute to get out of Effingham, and Effingham's quite physical and quite gregarious and musical, and I felt that he had to be. I won't get into the dichotomy of what in my head what I put into him, but what I did have for the king was the opposite. I wanted to move as little as possible. I wanted to be as still as possible, because if you're 300, I mean, if you look at somebody who's in their 80s, 70s or 80s, they're not moving about that much. Do you know what I mean? Because they've been around the block a few times. They're like, yeah, I don't need to move that much. The king said, whatever name we call him, the Dark King, was about 300 years old. And so I was thinking, this guy he's not gonna move much. He's gotta be very still and very, I don't know, just, it's difficult to explain. If you've seen the show, you'll know what I mean. Sean, which version of Robin and Regina would you like to see or explore more? Dark Bandit or Missing Year, and why? I'll be honest, I tend to shoot things and then I forget, so I like comparing one version with another. I'm like, I shoot the day. Do you know what I mean? I look at what I've got a couple of days before, I learn it, I work it over, and then I shoot it, and I forget it, a bit like a computer. You drag it to the trash because you need to make space for new stuff. So I never really mused on, this storyline would have been this. I will say, I think ultimately I would have preferred if they would have had their happy ending. It's kind of how I thought that it would go, but it didn't. So I think, yeah, I would have liked, for the audience's sake and for our sake, to have got the closure to those characters the way that I felt that they were going to go. But as I say, the boys were Adam and Ellie were very clever guys, and they kind of had to. It was their thing, you know. And they I think for them, Regina was all about Regina on her own and making it on her own and not needing a man, which I kind of dig and respect. But I think from the fairy tale aspect, or the storytelling aspect, it would have been more I don't know, more satisfying, I think, if they've been together. Hardest scene you've ever shot? There's lots for different reasons. I often will say, when somebody's asked me something, the first thing that comes to mind is, strangely, something I hadn't thought about for a really long time, was a movie I made called Out of Depth, and I was about 21, 22 when I made that, and it was a true story. The guy I played, it was a real guy, who was a really nice guy, and he got into trouble with the wrong kind of people, and sadly he was killed. He was killed in prison. And the day that we shot the scene where I was going to be killed in prison, me dying again, part of my special skill set. I don't know if I'd been killed on film before that. And the director of that film was a sociopath. I mean, genuinely, I think he was and is a sociopath. He was not an altogether nice man. And he did some weird stuff during the making of the movie, stuff that I had serious issue with. But when we shot the murder scene, it was really unpleasant, because I was carrying the weight of him, the real guy, and thinking about what he was going through and how he felt, and then just being in a real prison and having two guys. The director didn't tell me how they were going to do it. They just grabbed me and then sort of. And that's kind of how the movie ends. Spoiler alert. But that was really upsetting. So much so that I remember I was living in a flat at the time, but I spent the duration of the movie staying at my mum and dad's. And I remember coming home from filming that day, like in tears, just emotionally completely wrecked and just heavy-hearted. I was thinking about him. I was thinking about me. It was really unpleasant, and sometimes that's part of the job as an actor. You have to find your way to get into the most unpleasant place in your mind palette, and sometimes it's difficult to take it off at the end of the day and just leave it there on the set. Sometimes there's a residual thing that comes home with you. That's the weird job that we do. Was it hard to change the persona of your character from Robin to the alternative reality Robin? No, not really. I mean, I wanted to show this, that you could see that it's still me, it's still Robin, even though I looked slightly different. But no, I mean, it was just dialing up his sassiness and his arrogance and his rudeness, which very easy for me. I'm incredibly rude. So no, it was fun. I kind of enjoyed getting some lines where Robin had a bit of meat to him, as opposed to being this meek standing in the back holding Regina's purse. What's your favourite Harry Potter character? I was going to say and why, but it doesn't say and why. It just says what's your favourite Harry Potter character. Well, my kids and I are starting to read the books. We're watching just the first movie. But Daniel Radcliffe is a friend of my best friend Alex, so I've got to meet him a couple of times. And I have to say, for a guy that has an extraordinarily large weight of fame and recognition, he couldn't be more charming, humble, down to earth, lovely, approachable, accessible, and fun and smart. So Harry, obviously. It's got to be Harry. Well, who else is there? I don't want to be Hermione. Leviosa. She's annoying. How does Flynn and Rio react to you playing Robin Hood? Well, Leo doesn't really know anything about Robin Hood, I don't think. Flynn? Yeah? How do you react to me playing Robin Hood? Good. There you go. How does he react to me playing Robin Hood? Something about a concrete clong. Yeah, it's not important. You don't need to understand what that is. What's your top 3 things on your bucket list? Speaking of death, You know, my bucket list is not go hang gliding in Brazil, because I've done it, or any of those things. You know what I want? I want the world to come back to normal. I want this nonsense to stop. Ridiculous, pretend cartoon character leaders leading major nations off a cliff. I'll tell you what I want on my bucket list. I want proper world leaders. I want democracy. I want equality. I want fairness. I want a judicial system that works. I want black people to stop getting shot by police. I want a fair system. I want a fair shake for everybody. And if you're one of those people, I'm going to get on myself, but if you're one of those people that says all lives matter, shut the fuck up. There's a reason we're saying that. White people aren't being shot every day in the street by cops. Now, it happens occasionally, sure. Maybe they're a robot, maybe whatever. But the point is, that's what I want as a bucket list. I'd like to leave this earth knowing that this shitfest of the last few years is over and normality is coming back and grown-ups are going to be in charge, and we can start having a country and a world where we respect other human beings and see that 150,000 deaths isn't okay, isn't good. If you show me a graph going, but this graph, screw your graph, 150,000 people are dead here and we're not doing any better. So sorry to get political, but that's what's my bucket list. If you're American and you haven't registered, please register to vote. Please, I implore you. Be that pain in the ass to your friends and say, have you registered? Have you registered? This is the election of a lifetime. Do not sit on your hands. Get out and make a difference. Let's get rid of this idiot and have a better world. Okay. Last question. What is the ending you would have liked for Robin and Regina? Kisses from Brazil. Love you, Brazil. Well, I think I've said it before. I think, you know, you want fairy tales to end with the two protagonists being together and having a happy ever after. I would have liked them to have had a happy ever after. But, you know, we live in a topsy-turvy world. Although, I will say, I did die, which I was never going to come back, but I did come back. So, you know, apples and oranges. I think because I'm reading a thing that says, thanks for joining us. Sign up on our email list. And we'll see you tomorrow with Rebecca, Maida, and Lana Padilla. Oh my goodness. I'm going to be tuning in. I wish I could heckle, but I can only heckle through this answer thing. Anyway, thank you for letting me talk to myself in my kitchen for the last 45 minutes. I hope that me rambling to myself was satisfactory to you. And I hope that I get to see you all in the flesh in the future. And we can go back to the days where we could all hug each other and take stupid photographs wearing ridiculous moustaches and sunglasses. I love you all. Be safe. Look after each other. Register to vote, please. All right. Now, I don't know what to do. Do I just leave the studio? I guess I'm just going to leave the studio. All right.
All right, Sean, thank you so much. Guys, was he not amazing? We're so happy you were able to be with us today. Tipping is now done, and we're going to bring you the results in just a few moments. But first, make sure you're signed up on our email list through our website, creationent.com, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at creationent for announcements on more virtual experiences to come. As Sean said, tomorrow is going to be epic. We have the Wicked Witch, Rebecca Mader, and of course, the one and only, our evil queen, Miss Lana Padilla. Okay, our winner is Weird But Loved. You are loved. And you are a winner of our 5-minute meet and greet with Sean. That's going to be happening. So if your email address is not on your top supporter information, just hang around in the chat, in this chat, so that if we have an issue getting a hold of you, we can get you through the chat. Okay, you guys, that wraps up today's programming. But like I said, we're going to be back tomorrow, so make sure you don't miss out.